Oh. Flat. And. On. I want to explain what that was. And you.
Mayor, did you say something to me? I'm sorry.
I can't hear any audio from the council
Yeah.
chamber.
Yep.
Mute is off. We're working with some new technology here, so we should be in good shape. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me get everybody's faces up here so I can see everybody. All right, welcome to our city council workshop. It's Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. Governor Inslee's order 20-28-15 regarding the OPMA remains in effect. It requires public meetings and hearings to be held remotely, with the option of also holding an in-person component to a public meeting or hearing if certain conditions are met. At the present time, the city of Liberty Lake has determined not to hold an in-person component to a public meeting or hearing. So we will begin with our committee workshop. I'll do a quick roll call of the council and to make sure we've got everybody here. We've got Mayor Pro Tem Kennedy.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia, present. Councilmember Follier.
Here.
Where's the loudest of the bunch? Councilmember Kurtz.
Present.
Councilmember Dunn.
Happy to be here.
And I know Councilmembers Langford and Severs are both out ill this week. So we will excuse them when it comes to the 7 o'clock.
Actually, we've already, I make a motion to
Okay, go ahead.
excuse Councilman Langford and Austin Severs, both out of medical reasons.
We have a second to excuse Councilmembers Langford and Severs. Yeah, second. All right, was it Councilmember Garcia, was that you? Yeah, okay, Councilmember Garcia made the second. Any discussion? Not seeing or hearing any, all in favor of those excusals, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, they are excused. All right, so we are picking up where we left off a week and a half ago, I guess, with the council budget. We left off on, I believe, 52 or 53. So if you guys have your budget binders in front of you, we'll just kind of pick up where we left off. And for those of you who weren't with us in the public last meeting, we're just going through page by page, reviewing any questions that the council has, getting answers where we don't have them. And actually, I will start off. We did have an open question from last week. Kyle, if you'd like to address that, it was the question about the $19,000 to library capital, which is on page 52.
Absolutely, yeah. So a couple of updates from the last council meeting I'd like to pass on before we get started. So yeah, to your point, Mayor, the library capital amount in the amount of $19,000 that we had a question about, there was actually an ordinance passed back in 2019 that set some specific parameters on what this amount was going to be every year. And so as permitted by law, entities, we are not one of them, but entities can charge 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation for library services. And so we had put some parameters, and it's a formula, basically. It's so when we first incorporated as a city, we had determined a percentage, and it was 23.8%. I don't want to get too into it because I'm gonna confuse myself and everybody else. But 23.8% of total property tax was estimated to go to the library. 3% of that was going to be allocated to library capital. And so we have those parameters in place, and that is the history behind the 19,000 that gets allocated to library capital each year. So last year, I believe it was 17.8, and just following the same formula, that was the reasoning behind that amount.
Just real quick, for clarification purposes, Kyle, the ordinance, was it one of those Should versus shall, was it a definite that it must be done every year, or is it not, is it in there as an option? Just want to make sure we know how it's written.
The terminology is shall.
That's what I was looking for. Okay. I can't remember who asked the question, but does that answer the questions, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I didn't ask the question. Yes, I guess the other thing would be is for the benefit of clarity and also for our residents, zooming in today. Could you give an example of what all was covered when we talk about library capital? Because I realized later on we have $100,000, which is proposed for this year.
Absolutely. So I don't want to step on Jandy's toe. Jandy, do you have specifics on the use of the 19,000?
Not specifically for the 19,000. Generally for library capital, what we use it for is big ticket items. Like this year, we need to buy a new copy machine, which is like $4,000. So that's something that we would use the library capital fund for.
Any other questions for Jandy or Kyle on that line item? Right, not seeing any.
And then one more piece, apology, sorry. And so another topic of discussion at the last meeting was a retool or reformat of the 6-year forecast. I did want to let everybody know I will have that to everybody by next Tuesday in anticipation of our November 30th meeting.
Appreciate it. All right, so if there are no more questions, that was page 52. We'll go ahead, and I think we started touching on 53, then went backwards, so we'll just go ahead and go to page 53. This is the general fund section, and this mostly encompasses a lot of transfers in and outs. I don't know if anybody had any questions on page 53. Okay, not hearing any. I do have, well, I guess I do. I have a question for the council. So on that page, about 2 inches from the bottom, you have the $25,000 transfer out to the underground utility fund. We, in the past, before COVID and whatnot, we've been putting $25,000 a year into that underground utility fund. We did not do it in 2020 because of obvious reasons. We did appropriate in 2021. It has not been done yet. I guess I'm looking to the council for any discussion regards to is there any opposition to going ahead and making that transfer for 2021 as originally planned? Councilmember Dunn and then Councilmember Poyer.
Yeah, great. So just to clarify the point, is there or is there not a budget line for this transfer in 2021?
There is, but it was also appropriated for 2020, and obviously we ran into COVID, so we didn't do it. I just want to make sure that will happen.
So I would speak in favor of recognizing the importance of this fund and expect that the transfer happen per the budget set in 2021.
Councilmember Follier, did you have any questions? Sorry,
Yeah, sorry. I know later on in the budget, it has its own section. I'm trying to find it.
that's what, sorry, you broke up.
Can you hear me now? Bueller? Yeah. So further on in the budget, there is a section pertaining to this topic alone. And I have many questions, so I was hoping we could talk about it at that point.
That's its own fund, so when we get to that, just make a note and we will go through more detail.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
There's no more discussion on that. Kyle, we'll just go ahead and we'll make sure we proceed with that transaction at the end of the year, like we did several others. And since I'm not hearing any other opposition, we'll go ahead and leave it in for 2022 as well. So if there's no more questions on page 53, we'll go ahead to 54. Well, skip to 55. 54 is just a total page. 55 goes to the police department. I know Chief Simmons is here in case we have any questions. Summary page on 55 does talk about the increase in full-time employees, moving the part-time office assistant to full-time, some new vehicles, and then the shuffling of taking away one sergeant position and making a lieutenant position. Chief, is there anything you wanted to talk about high level with regards to this plan before we get into any details?
No, I can answer any questions. I think we actually briefly started this last week, so I don't want to double up on any questions that we've already answered. So,
All right, so then we'll go into the detail pages on page 56. Go ahead, Councilmember Follier.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, at our last council meeting, I had several questions and we ran out of time. So the chief was gracious enough to invite me down to ask him my questions face to face, which we did today along with Sergeant Morgan, which I really appreciate their time. They took about an hour and a half of their busy day just to visit with little old me. So that was great. I really appreciated that. Gave me a lot of insight to what it all says here, because there's a lot of information. Some of the things we talked about, one of the things that was important for me was, what are these extra patrol officers going to do specific to, I called it HOA patrolling or traffic patrolling, but the chief says that we have plans for a traffic enforcement, using the proper terminology, officer, which is very exciting for me. Thank you, chief. I appreciate that. We talked about a couple of what the lieutenant's going to do, some training mandates for budgeting for their new vehicles, and different things like that overall scheme. So it was worth my time for sure. I hope they didn't mind doing it, and I would encourage the rest of the council to do it if they had any other further questions. But since you're on page 56, thank you, Chief and Sergeant Morgan. I appreciate that. I do have some questions on page 56 that maybe the chief isn't the person to ask. And I'm kind of noticing a recurring theme throughout the budget regarding benefits. And it just seems like there's a substantial increase in not just one line item, but several benefits regarding retirement, medical, life, even the L&I. I mean, I understand the L&I because we're going from basically just a little over 50 employees to almost 70. I don't know what the HRE VIBA is, but some of these lines are close to double, and I'm wondering if somebody can speak to as to why.
So with the medical, so we had an across the board, I want to say it was a 5.8% increase in medical. And you're accounting obviously for additional officers, you're accounting for that. We do have a spreadsheet that our treasurer maintains that puts in these exact figures. And so when we get the L&I, she punches in that number. When we get our rates for our medical and dental and everything like that, we have a percentage increase that we have pre-programmed it into a spreadsheet that that calculates all of these numbers. And so we get a firm number based on what we plan to hire in the coming year. Now, keep in mind that doesn't always necessarily happen, but what we plan to hire in the coming year for each of these amounts that you see here.
I fully understand how it's driven by a percentage, but we're adding roughly 20 employees, and some of these numbers are big jumps. And I asked, the reason I'm asking the question, medical, for example, the bigger the pool, the more affordable it should become. And I'm not seeing that. I understand some of the others, they're constants, they're 5.8% increases, whatever they are, but I'm just asking, is this our only option? And if it's not, then are there other options?
A little bit as well.
I think I invoked that.
Maybe I'll go here for you.
Thank you. So I think it's a combination of things, and Kyle, what I'm thinking is maybe we could give the council more detail. But overall, the premiums are increasing. We have more employees because we've talked in the past about converting part-time to full-time to be compliant, plus the numbers are growing, and all of those things. So what I'm thinking might be helpful is if we kind of do a spreadsheet and show them exactly what the increases are. What I do want to share with the council, though, is something that happened several years ago. And that was, we went to a high deductible plan, and I don't wanna drag this out ad nauseum, but that saved the city about $130,000 by going from a no deductible plan to a high deductible plan. But then we supplement our savings, if you will, with an HRA VIVA and a bridge. But in the end result is the city saved over $100,000 by us doing that. And that's something I wanted just to remind some of the council members might remember when that happened. But we do have the VIVA, we do have more employees, the premiums are going up. But what I think we're very proud of is that we do have the high deductible plan, so we're not providing insurance that doesn't get used as much. So for Kyle, we can work on some details.
Yeah, and just to expand on that a little bit, so we are part of a pooling program, but the more employees that we have, we do not get a discount for. We get a well discount, like a 2% for certain activities that we can do throughout the year. But no, if we're 100 or if we're 40, they release, here are the 2022 figures for each different plan that they offer.
Can I ask one more question on that, Mayor? So I remember not very long ago when we just went over 50 employees, it required a different set of rules, I guess, for lack of a better term. There was some new things we had to do as a city because we went over that threshold. And I guess part of my question also is, does any of that come into play with these increases? Because, for example, I'm looking at just the police department, but I'm only using them as an example because I see it through all the other departments. Is medical, for example, for 2021 we're at 224, and for 2022 we're at 292, which is a pretty large increase for, what are we adding? 4 positions, and we're taking away a couple part-times and adding. I don't know the numbers exactly, but it just got my attention as to, is that what we're stuck with, or is there, and if that is, then just say that. But
So absolutely not. No, there are other member pooling programs out there that we can certainly investigate.
and maybe the coverage is not as good. I'm not looking to get in the weeds there. It just caught my attention. That's all.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just to clarify, we're probably should at this point to make the change for this coming year. It would be something we would have to look at for 2023.
Correct, yes.
All right, we'll work on getting some more detailed explanation, Councilmember Boyer, so everybody can follow along. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, great. One of the questions I have, I was looking forward trying to highlight it. You and I had talked about in the past, as you know, I was concerned about having sufficient funding for you guys for training. What page is that on? Am I just so small print, I'm missing it?
It is on page. It's on the second to the last page of our budget comparison, so I don't know what page that is. It doesn't have a page listed here.
Chief,
It
it's
is,
page 57. It's way up in the type on the last.
That's that part of the professional services, Chief.
yes,
Yeah,
So
it's
it's about down from the top, 521.
You're saying on page, you think it's 57, which is not marked?
It is, it's just like page number shoved up into the last line.
Oh, professional services?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
right above there.
what I'm looking at is $55,000. Include annual software subscription.
No, I think that's wrong. It should be bars 521-104900 under law enforcement dues, subscriptions and memberships, I believe.
Oh, I see.
Oh, 42.
Okay,
$42,000 proposed. Yeah.
okay, very good. I just wanted to highlight that. And obviously, because that's what you're asking for, you're more than comfortable with that number.
Yes.
Good, excellent. A couple of questions. Councilman Foley brought up a question, talking about a patrol officer. What is it? total duties of the quote patrol officer?
A patrol officer's main functions are, first of all, reactive policing. Unfortunately, especially these days with our numbers, so that is answering calls for service and making sure that they're able to provide service that citizens need upon request. The second thing, and what we really would like to see more of, and to have the staffing to do, is proactive law enforcement. That's where we're able to go out and we are able to work on traffic issues and criminal issues such as vehicle prowlings and patrol more for burglaries. One of our issues now is when you have one officer at night and they answer 2 or 3 what we call report calls, and those are calls that require a written report. You're tying up an officer for 3 or 4 hours, so they are down. So when we have one officer on at night, even sometimes 2, and they are writing reports, you're taking those officers off the streets for hours, and we don't have any proactive patrolling. And that's officers patrolling for, our burglary suspects and our guys that are and suspects that are breaking into vehicles and stealing packages off of porches and all those things that those property crimes that we're seeing an increase of in our county.
But, thank you for that clarification. The other thing I really noted was switch away because Councilman Foyer brought that up. Is this being looked at with additional officers that some patrolling will go through the HOAs?
Yeah, so we talked about that in depth today. One of the things that I wanted to point out was with the HOA, that is a targeted patrol. So there's been a problem identified through the HOA, and they're requesting that we focus our energy on addressing that issue alone. And this would be with the HOA that we're talking about, speeding. The difference in our normal patrol function and a targeted emphasis patrol is, in our normal patrol function, we're looking for a variety of different things. We're looking for those, our porch pirates, those people stealing packages. We're looking for no seatbelts. We're looking for people on cell phones. We're looking for, a variety of things, people who commit burglaries during the daytime, because we do have a lot of residential burglaries occur during the daytime because people go to work, they're not at home. And so those are the things we're looking for. So actually speeding, and this is not to say that speeding is not important, but when we start looking at the issues that we're having throughout our community, speeding, as we're patrolling, doesn't really take that high of a priority. So for us to focus, if someone says there's a speeding problem and they want to focus on that, sometimes it takes a targeted emphasis patrol to do that. And so what the HOA has done is says, hey, can you all focus on this speeding issue with us? And in order for us to do that, we need additional manpower. And the only way at this time to get that additional manpower is through extra duty request or through the contract that we've come up with with the HOA.
So that leads to my question, Chief, and thank you for that explanation. With additional officers, patrol officers, will we be in a position where it won't be necessary to have this special contract with the HOAs?
Well, I can't guarantee that we won't. I can't guarantee that because I think it will depend on what the HOAs are requesting. Again, extra duty is something that's been around for a long time. When people have a specific request or something they want to focus on and they need someone for that. And most of the times law enforcement agencies, they have to supply that outside of their normal staffing. So I can't guarantee that something that we won't have to do with another HOA or the same HOA in the future. What I can tell you is with this current staffing, with the way we're able to, and Councilmember Foyer and I and Darren talked about this today, there are some positions that we're going to be able to create that we historically haven't been able to do because of staffing. And one of those is our traffic officer. We have an officer who is former Washington State Patrol. Traffic is his heart. He loves it. He's very excited. We're getting him a vehicle. We actually have a vehicle right now getting outfitted specifically for traffic. So he's super excited. So that is a resource not only for our community, the HOAs, anyone who's having traffic issues where they can contact that traffic officer and say, can you help us address this specific traffic issue? But also for our city engineers. as we move forward and look at our transportation infrastructure, a lot of the questions and issues that we're having now, for instance, like the slip that's closed in front of McDonald's, to have someone who's an expert in that area and that focuses on that area and can focus their energy, just one specific officer on that only, it will be a tremendous asset for the community. So yes, we are addressing those, and there's some other areas as well, not only traffic that we're looking at, hopefully having the manpower to have officers focus on specific, specialty positions where we can address different issues more thoroughly throughout our community.
I have one last question.
This one is David to clarify something for our citizens. So David, for those citizens who have joined us who may not have the background, specifically the HOA that we're talking about that has requested these extra patrols is a private community, Legacy Ridge, that has private roads that we wouldn't normally patrol for speeding, correct? And that's why we have with that. I just want to make sure that the citizens understand what we're talking about. Thanks.
And we do have an agreement specifically to enforce speed in that area through the HOA.
So my last question comes in regards to the HOAs. Is what's interesting is that when we talked about this several months ago, where we agreed that they could, Legacy Ridge would hire on a part-time basis for speeding and stuff. It generated a lot of interest, more than I thought it would. But now that the budget is out, it's generated a lot more interest, where I've been contacted on numerous occasions and asked this question. If all of the citizens of Liberty Lake are paying property taxes, including the individuals who are in private neighborhoods, Legacy Ridge, Garden Ridge, things of the sort here, if we're all paying the same property tax for public safety, why do we have to go out and hire additional?
Again, that is a targeted specific patrol. That is something that, because of our staffing, we're unable to do in the course of our normal duties. So it's one of those things where, unfortunately, if we had the manpower and we were, and I'll compare us to the Spokane County Sheriff's Office, where we had enough staffing and we can have a full-time traffic unit that's comprised of 4 or 5 or 6 officers, that we can say, hey, here's an issue, we can hand that issue off and say, can you address this issue in this neighborhood? Yes, I can. Unfortunately, we're not there yet.
Once again, I appreciate that. And I agree also as a citizen that speeding might be as important, maybe more important to some individuals than other, but I think on a pecking order, it's probably further down when it comes to other public safety and stuff. But my point is, let's don't lose this thought, is that we do have citizens that ask that logical question, why would it be that way? So especially with adding more. So that's my last question. And Katie had a question.
I'd like to offer some additional context, because I think that's a very good question that many of our residents that live on private streets. Because when you do buy into an HOA that has private streets, not only are you responsible for the maintenance and the snow removal and the crack seal and the asphalt and everything to do with drainage, because some of our HOAs are private streets, some of them aren't. But when the property was platted, it was identified, if it was a private street, that the responsibility of the maintenance, the operation, and is really falls to the property owner. I don't know if that helps or not, but.
Well, it does. I think the most important thing is for our citizens to realize that explanation is a very good explanation. But what was not touched on was the property tax. Property taxes go towards public safety. And regardless if you're in a private community or not, granted, I live in a private community, we're responsible for all the snow removal, roads and things of that sort there, but we don't pay separately for our security. So that's where I've had individuals from gated communities contact me saying, and they're really not upset, they're just asking for an answer, that why should they have to pay extra for those services? So once again, thank you for the explanation. I think it's very informative to the public.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, if you don't have any other questions, we're still on page 56. Does anybody have any additional questions on page 56? Councilmember Kurtz.
So I didn't get my hand up fast enough when we were still on page 55, but it has to do with the capital outlay, and that there's an accounting for that on the police department general fund. But then I noticed later, when we're talking about on page 104, there's a different police capital fund. And I think this might be a question for Kyle about basically why there are two funds, because the descriptors in both of the general page comments talk about police vehicles, subscriptions on software, and they're just similar. So I'm wondering what the difference is between the two capital funds.
Right, and they can be construed, and they are kind of redundant. The idea is that you can identify, if council so chooses, an amount to set aside specifically for these, rather than reconciling annually through the budget process. So we need this vehicle, we need this vehicle, we need this equipment. These funds are already kind of a set aside. And so there has been discussion, and it's similar to what we talked about earlier with, why are we transferring money from general fund to library capital? Similar discussions to my recollection, as I've kind of looked through and seen what has been done in the past, similar discussions have happened with the PD about, we need to set aside this amount because we're expecting, this expense to be incurred, maybe not necessarily next year, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. And so yeah, they are redundant, but they can be, I guess the best way I could explain it is it's added flexibility for the police department.
Okay.
To make make their case for setting aside funds for specific uses.
Thanks, Kyle.
Member Tim?
Councilman Kurtz, that's a great question. And probably, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but when I look at on page 104, it talks about police capital needs such as vehicles and equipment. I'm looking at 2022 to 2021 and stuff, not that much. I would assume that number should increase or logically increase, because now we're adding additional vehicles and things of the sort here. Is that not a large issue?
Yeah, I can answer that. One of the things that that we did early on in the year is we really researched the purchase of vehicles, and we really looked into cost saving. One of the things that we decided to do is to purchase Dodge Chargers instead of the Ford Explorer. And we did that for several, and I see you laughing, and I know exactly why you're laughing, but one of the reasons that we did that is there's some significant savings in doing so. You get a vehicle where the quality is pretty much parallel, and there's some, there's some significant cost savings, and those savings start to roll downhill when we start talking about equipping those vehicles with our emergency equipment, and also computers, stop sticks, which are spike strips, and so forth and so on. So there's some savings there in the purchase of the vehicle by going to the Dodge Charger, and again, that those savings are starting to roll downhill. So it won't be quite as expensive, hopefully, for us to buy those vehicles this year. And also, 2 other vehicles that we want to purchase will be vehicles for our investigative unit, and we're looking into some alternative methods of buying those and not having to spend as much as we would on a normal patrol vehicle, because those vehicles do not have to be outfitted the same as a normal patrol vehicle.
Thank you. All right, so we're done with 56. Any questions on page 57? There was the professional service line. There's the training that Mayor Pro Tem had pointed out. There's the $200,000 that you had just pointed out, Mayor Pro Tem. Are there any other questions or clarification on this page? Councilmember Folger.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Am I on? Yep. So my question is on the very last line item. We're not, well, sorry, up one, sorry. 6402, second from the bottom. And it talks about furniture, computers, equipment, etc. So, and then over on the side note, it talks about some replacing some vehicles. So my comment is not about the content of the line. My comment is about, to me, the equipment, computers, furniture, that's like a personal property to that department. And I see those items on our capital facilities plan. but I don't see the vehicles or the fleet on our capital facilities plan. And I appreciate the cost associated with the replacement vehicle in this section of our budget because it pertains to this department. But I think it would be helpful for me, and I'd like to hear, and maybe not right this second, but I'd like, because I know we're going to talk about this at our capital facilities discussion in December, and finalize that plan after a budget discussion. But I would like to see a fleet schedule with all of the vehicles, all of the departments, acknowledge the cost of replacements in their budgets like we're doing. But I just feel like if we had a one place, one document to go to see how aging our fleet is becoming and get into a rotation of replacement vehicles that you can just kind of forecast out 8-10 years based on age or mileage or whatever have you. I just don't feel like we're grasping that expense. And as we grow, that's going to become a bigger and bigger part of the equation. So thought any reason why we shouldn't do that or should do that from the mayor or staff?
I'll turn that to you. I know we have a vehicle rotation plan. It's not published in the budget at this point. Chief?
I'm sorry, I was breaking up there, Mayor. Could you repeat that one more time?
Our Councilmember Follier was asking about the vehicle rotation plan and how far it goes out. I know we have one. I know it's not published with the budget, but can you briefly go through that rotation plan and how it works, and we can always get a copy to the council.
Yeah, I could get a copy to the council. I went over that with Councilmember Follier earlier. I'd have to pull that up. I'd have to log on to my computer.
Mayor?
Go ahead, Phil.
That's not really what I'm driving at. Yeah, that's this section of the budget, but there's other departments that have vehicles. And that's what I'm driving at is, can we capture all of our fleet assets, meaning vehicles, as we look forward into the future for replacement or what have you? Because what I believe somewhere in the budget further on, and I highlighted it, somebody is looking for a vehicle, and I don't know if it was the planning department or what it was, but maybe as we take some of these vehicles out of service, we can plug them into other departments within our own city and you reutilize them. So, but you can't really see the picture if you don't see all of them on one spreadsheet. Thank you.
May I?
Sure.
Can you hear me? Okay, so we do have a spreadsheet like that. It's for insurance purposes, for insurance tracking every year. It's updated with the existing fleet. I know in maintenance, which is most likely the largest fleet that we have. So PD should be very easy to do, and I'm sure we have that too. But it shows everything that we have in inventory, the year, the date, the mileage or hours, if you will, on the piece of equipment. And then in the fleet rotation plan, which I believe did get published with the budget, it does explain how, for example, planning building will purchase a new vehicle in, approximate year, and the plan for that vehicle will get shifted down to maintenance. So I hear what you're saying. And so it's kind of a two-part situation where part of that information is in the actual fleet rotation plan in the original actual Word document. And then part of that information is in our fleet inventory schedule that we have, which we don't normally publish with the budgets. We just tend to publish out the 5-year anticipated program, not what we have in existing fleet. But we do have both documents, and maybe we could figure out a way to kind of combine those two. So you can see the existing, you could see the upcoming in the next 5 years or so, and then you can see how we're shifting them around. So we already have that. It's just would be a matter of kind of combining them into one document.
Thank you.
Jumping as well, though, Lisa, your fingers disappearing in your background.
So I wanted to just tack on to that a little bit, that one of the what Councilmember Foyer is asking for is probably more appropriately represented in the spreadsheet that Jen just talked about. The capital facilities plan is only a 6-year plan. So because vehicles have a longer lifespan than 6 years, it tends not to capture that. That's number one. Number two, traditionally, PD has had their own separate capital budget as it relates to fleet vehicles. So that has not to date been part of the capital facilities plan. It's certainly something that could be added to the capital facilities plan, but actually some of the things that you mentioned for this particular budget line, the furniture, computers and equipment, we actually haven't tracked anything other than computers. And when you see the reformatted capital facilities plan, you're going to see that that is taken out because each department does the computers individually. So all you're going to see are the larger purchases. So we are reformatting the capital facilities plan, and it's going to look a little different, but at this point, we don't have PD vehicles in there. We could if that was council's desire, but it's still not going to give you that longer range view of the schedule for rotation.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Any other questions on page 57? Okay, Huntsville. Our page 58 is another summary page. So page 59, we're getting into planning, engineering, building services. This is the summary page. I don't know if you got any general questions before we get into the detail. All right, let's see any. So the detail starts on page 60. The first page is mostly wages and benefits. Are there any questions on that page? Councilmember Kurtz and then Mayor Pro Tem.
My question was on 558-50-1001, the $25,000 for permits and for overtime. And I guess my question was, would it make more sense for us to just hire somebody? That's my question.
If I may, so this is something that we have budgeted every year. We generally don't use very much of it at all. When we have to work overtime, it's usually they earn comp time and they take advantage of the comp time. At the end of the year, they're Wayne in particular, because he's been with the city for so long, has so much vacation time that he often ends up having a small payout on overtime. But generally, we don't do that a lot. We do have it, and it's things happen where there are time sensitive reviews that need to happen, that sort of thing. Again, we can't, we don't generally use this, but we have it in there for as in case we need to. Again, we have also contracted now for professional services to allow for additional building plan reviews when we get backlogged. Again, we haven't tapped into that yet, but that's also available and there's money in there. Those are contingencies that I build into the budget so that we can maintain the level of service that our development community and residents expect.
Okay. One more follow-up question, if I may. I think that was one of my questions on the overall form on page 59 too, is just, do we need to increase that if we've got these side contracts to supplement? Does it make more sense to have somebody who is maybe more full-time or not?
Well, actually, that's again, because our workload waxes and wanes, that's part of it. You don't want to bring on somebody, number one, that you may have to lay off at some point in the future. Our workload has been very, very heavy this year. And we have found ways to balance that. The other thing is that we actually had originally tried to hire a part-time temp building inspector, and we had 0 qualified applicants, 0.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks. Mayor Pro Tem, I think you had a question as well?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I apologize, back on item number 59. I missed the notation that I had here. Capital outlay, 35,800. Huge increase over the previous year. Their proposed new vehicle and computer equipment. Doesn't it sort of come back into the question that Councilman Follier brought up? That are we in a position where we can't utilize one of our older vehicles? Because I thought that's what we were doing. I remember the vehicle that Chief Aston had. I thought we started utilizing that in that department.
Yes,
So-
and yes, so we have our vehicles, when they get rotated out, when are handed down to Jen's crew. We are still using a 2012, I believe, Ford Escape that's got pretty high mileage. We've got another year to go on that. We are proposing a new vehicle. So we have in the last year added 2 staff. And we're adding proposing to add a third one in 2020. We don't have enough vehicles. A lot of our work is going out and about and doing inspections. And so we're looking to add another vehicle right now. We've been sharing that Escape, and with Phil working in the field most of the time, we just don't have the available vehicles. It's part of the growing pains.
Lisa, thank you, Lisa, for that answer. Why I'm chuckling is that it's a hand down situation, you know, it's like the stepchild looking at, gee, I hope that 2 kids above me get a new toy, because I'd like to have something. So I'm sure some of the staff down there is looking forward to a 180,000 mile vehicle. One other question on the services and charges. To adopted 2021 95,000, jumped up 83% to 173,400 services and charges.
I'm sorry, please, can you give me the line number again, please?
It's on page 59 under services and charges, $173,400. And specifically for parametrics, cost recovery services, increase in other outside professional services. City continues to expand, which I understand all of that, but it's about an $80,000 increase. Is that mostly for parametrics?
So there's a couple different things happening here, and I think that it's important to call this out. So it's actually easier when you look at if you look at page 61. If you want to take a look, for example, at you'll see it in 558-504002. As you can see, that is a cost recovery line. What happens with that, we already are more than double what we had budgeted for. It doesn't really matter because the revenues equal the expenses in a cost recovery line. You'll see that I bumped that up to 60,000 for next year based upon projections of what we're actually doing. So again, it's because it's a cost recovery line. We basically, whatever we spend, we receive a revenue for. That's what the developers pay for. You're also going to see it in line 558-504100. And this is one where, again, it's increased, and it's increased. I can give you the breakdown of it, but I really I did a projection in terms of what the trajectory of our growth is. Some of that includes 10,000 for outside legal services, because it seems that we've hit that every single year for the last couple of years. I want to account for that for the next SEPA challenge we may have. Also, that's number one. Number two is credit card fees. So with credit card fees, the more business we do with building permits, the more credit card fees we have, because we've been pushing the online permitting. And so there's a fee associated with taking payment via credit cards. We do recover some of that through a $40 processing fee. And it was a calculated strategy on our part as we started really pushing to do electronic plan reviews. In doing that, we're saving a lot of resources in paper handling, but also in money handling. And so there's an efficiency that goes along with that. If you actually charge a percentage for using a credit card, it discourages people from using a credit card, which is exactly what we're trying to promote. Anyhow, long story short is that we do charge a $40 processing and technology fee with every permit that is in an effort to recoup that without necessarily disincentivizing people to use the credit cards. If that makes sense.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay. All right, we are coming up to, it's about 9 minutes till 7. We are really at the end of the planning, engineering, building services, which leaves us, if we go ahead and just break now, we can start off with the library. Go ahead,
One more
Phil.
from Phil.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I made a note on your proposed new vehicle, Lisa. I haven't been over there to the police department for a while, but I think the chief's got an armored vehicle he's not really using much these days. Wondering if that would work for you there. No?
Expense.
Yeah, just checking. But on the serious side, I have one thing in her budget that I'd like to call out or point out. It goes back to my conversation earlier on the benefits cost. If you go down to page 60, second line from the bottom, 602204. If you'll notice there, it's over. I mean, it's getting close to it's over a double bump.
Over double, yeah.
Yeah, and we're adding 3 employees in this section here. So those are the kinds of things I'm referring to, Kyle.
Understood. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. No armored car, Lisa. No.
Right. We'll be back at 7 o'clock for our regular meeting. Make sure you just turn your video off during the break. All right.
Todd, can we check the audio, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I'm not sure, because we've got some weird glitches with the new technology. We'll keep playing with it. All right, I'll try again. Welcome to our Tuesday, November 16th, regularly scheduled council meeting. Governor Inslee's order 20-28.15 regarding the OPMA remains in effect. It requires public meetings, hearings to be held remotely with with the option of also holding an in-person component to a public meeting or hearing if certain conditions are met. At the present time, the City of Liberty Lake has determined not to hold an in-person component to a public meeting or hearing. So we are now starting our regular session. If you can join Councilmember Garcia, who will be leading us in our invocation.
Tonight, Lord, we ask and hope for your guidance as we continue to do the work that will benefit our community and the region. With your help, we will recognize that our works as servant leaders is not too much or too bothersome. We come together in this chamber to partner with you as we work to get things done, as we weigh our actions and consider every decision we make as a collaborative effort in light of what is right and in the best interest of our community residents, young, old, men, women, and children. Please look upon us each, servant leaders, who grace and your grace, and remind us that our decisions come through our deliberations, which must be better and not simply faster. Please grant us this day the confidence required to make every decision and what each decision will mean in our future. We ask this in your name. Amen.
You join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, call this meeting to order. Do a quick roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Kennedy,
Present.
Councilmember Garcia,
Present.
Councilmember Follier,
Here.
Councilmember Kurtz,
Present.
Councilmember Dunn.
Still happy to be here.
Okay, glad to hear. And we will, I will ask if there is a motion to excuse Councilmembers Langford and Severs for medical issues.
I do make that motion, Mayor.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Garcia. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor of excusing Councilmembers Langford and Severs, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. All right, we'll now move on to agenda approval. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council consideration, it appears we have no additions or subtractions in the agenda, so therefore I make a motion to accept the agenda as presented this evening.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Garcia. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor of approving the agenda as printed, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, agenda is approved 5-0. Now we are to citizen comments. So for any citizens out there who have joined us, if you'd like to make a comment on any topic that's on the agenda tonight, or even if it's not on the agenda, please send a note through chat to Todd Henderson, who's managing the meeting. You'll have up to 3 minutes, and there will be a clock countdown put on the screen, and you can go ahead and make your citizen comments. If you don't have anything that right now, there will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting, as well as a couple of times during the meeting when we have our ordinances. Todd, you have any? All right, not seeing any, we will move on from citizen comments to announcements, proclamations, special presentations. You'll notice there's nothing listed, but it also doesn't say none because I didn't want to spoil things. So I would like to take this opportunity, and I know it won't show on my main screen, but as a council and from the staff and from myself, we would like to recognize Councilmember Garcia for her participation. This is a certificate of appreciation in recognition of your valuable contributions and distinguished service to the City of Liberty Lake as a city council member from July 13th, 2021. And we have through November 23rd, as unfortunately your current appointment will be ending on the 23rd, and we'll be discussing the process in a little bit as to what comes next. So we want to make sure we recognize you tonight. And we'll do this real quick. So I can actually hand things to people in person. I was glad to hear you were going to be here tonight.
Thank you all.
Present this to Councilmember Garcia. And we did a lot. I won't give him too much trouble. And thank you for being.
Very good.
Here we go.
And as I mentioned at the last meeting, Councilmember Garcia had in lightning speed earned her certificate of municipal leadership from the Association of Washington Cities, and I will challenge anybody to do it as fast as she did. Great accomplishments. We really value your input, both before you're on council and while you've been here, and looking forward to that in the future.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll go ahead to reports and inquiries. Are there any reports from the city council? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one, not so much in the past, but I'd like to announce that it appears that maybe we're starting to change a little bit with the COVID, maybe getting under control, where we can start having additional meetings and stuff. And this coming Thursday, we'll be able to attend Spokane Valley Chamber luncheon. It'll be their annual, which will be in person. It's kind of exciting to be able to do that again. So look forward to that.
Any other council reports? Anything upcoming you'd like to report on? Any updates from you, Councilmember Garcia, on the September event next year?
Well,
You want to share?
of course, you know, we've already signed that contract. And we're getting ready to start Brian Asmus' portion of soliciting volunteers. He may hear this for the first time, but he's heard it a million times before. And just getting everyone pumped up. If we can get anyone to filter in names of veterans, they can send that to the Gallant Guards, or they can send it to the city.
Right.
And that we would like to collect all the names, as many as we can, of veterans who live here
Perfect.
in the city of Liberty.
And if we'll go ahead and take an action item, make sure we have, if we don't already have the link to the Traveling Memorial Walls, the Gallant Guards of Liberty's website. So people can submit those names and get more information about the event and how they can volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, short report from me tonight. This week is the National League of Cities Summit. All virtual this year. They were going to have an in-person component, but at some point it changed. So it's been interesting. Have attended 4 or 5 sessions already. It's my first go around with the National League of Cities Summit. It's very interesting. I'll have more details to share, but for instance, I was on actually two shorter sessions today, and wondered if I was in the wrong session. So it's been interesting. Looking forward to hopefully tomorrow being better. I don't like to waste the city's money when it comes to those things. City Summit is fairly expensive, so I'm looking forward to getting more education out of it tomorrow and Thursday and Friday than today was. So we may reevaluate our membership after this. We'll see what comes of it, but well attended. This morning, I did spend a couple hours with my 400 closest friends at the GSI Economic Forecast downtown. Just like Mayor Pro Tem Kenny was saying, it's great to have an in-person event. They had everybody really well spread out and really good mask compliance. We had breakfast, but as soon as people were done with their breakfast, they were all very responsible and then put their masks back on per the mandates. And great day. They had 4 shorter presentations this year than our normal one long one, and I will get some additional information out to the council on that meeting today. The chamber annual meeting is Thursday, as Mayor Pro Tem said. I think there's still time to register if any of the council members or staff are interested in attending the chamber annual meeting on Thursday. Please let Kelsey know. She can help get you registered. And just a quick update on city administrator interviews. As I had shared last week, we had narrowed our pool down to 3. We have our 3 commissions set up to do interviews on Thursday and Friday. And then after that, we'll see if all 3 are moving on to a final community/council/staff and employee open house date to be determined. So Thursday and Friday, we will have those panel interviews with comments due back Monday morning, and then we'll see what the next step is and when that will happen. So looking forward to getting the feedback from the different panels. And we were very concentrated this year on trying not to to rehash people who are already on commissions. I really want a fresh perspective from the community standpoint. So everybody who's been engaged on the community panel, they're not current members of commissions or boards or anything. We have a really good variety of residents / business owners who both live and own businesses here. So stay tuned. And I think that's really it for me today. Katie, city administrator report, or are you sharing it with Jen tonight?
I'm sharing it with all the directors, so
Okay.
I'll go ahead and get us kicked off. So I did send an email to all the council members to let them know that the selection process for Trailhead, and Todd, I'm going to ask you if you could put up the city administrator's report, concluded. Today we opened the fee proposals, and Mountain Construction, who partnered with Architects West, was selected as the most qualified firm based on all the criteria that the state gives you. And at this point, Mayor, I'd like you and council members Kennedy, Garcia, and Phil to weigh in on the process. Just kind of on a side note, we do have a kickoff meeting on Thursday to get the ball rolling, and we have a lot of work to do coming up really fast. Our goal is to get a contract put together for your consideration on December 7th. So we need not to let the grass grow under our feet, but I'd love to hear your feedback to the rest of the council and the community on the process.
Sure. Councilmember Garcia, would you like to start?
Oh, certainly. Being that was my first opportunity to participate in such an endeavor, I found that it was fair. Each organization, each construction company, each landscape architect, designers, managers, and the whole lot of creative professional minds really gave us something to look at. They were all very professional, outstanding, and they all are possible future developers here. I was rewarded by seeing them in action and letting them tell us all about who they were and what they wanted to bring to Liberty Lake. So it was a good endeavor.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
My comments would be the same as Councilman Garcia. Well said. Moving on.
Councilmember Collier.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Garcia covered it all. The only thing I would ask is very difficult decisions, very qualified applicants. What an incredible process that is. We couldn't go wrong with any of them.
Yeah, and I don't have much to add, except, it was my first time going through that whole entire process as well. Well worth our time. And I really liked having the varying backgrounds of our council members there. Obviously, Councilman Foyer having the construction background and building and everything, but I think we all brought something a little different to the table, and a little bit different perspective. It was a great group, including several staff members, and really it was very, very difficult decision, and it came down to today, and I'm looking forward to the next step.
Okay, so the scoring was very, very tight. We did have 5 applicants, and as been said, very, very capable, all of them. So on that note, I'm going to ask Kyle to give an update on the salary commission.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks, Katie. So the Salary Commission held a series of meetings this fall to review market data, what other similar cities compensation are for elected officials, and also to update the council member questionnaire. So I do appreciate council and mayor taking the time to fill that out. I know that does take time, and they were really appreciative that you took the time to fill that out and put some thought into that. And that definitely played a role in their decision. So after the public hearing today that they had, the determination was made to increase the salary of the mayor from $2,250 per month to $2,500 a month, and to increase the salary of the council members from $720 per month to $750 per month.
Just curious, Kyle, were there any, I know this was a public hearing, were there any participants from the community?
Well, we did get some, so no actual input, but participation. So we did have a couple of folks to attend that meeting. So that was great to see.
Glad to hear it.
Okay, a couple updates from Trevor. He's going to talk to us about the art that was recently installed at Rocky Hill Park, and also an update on our wind event from last night and yesterday.
Thank you, Katie. Sorry if my camera's not working. I just had a new tablet tonight, so not sure if you can hear me or see me, but we recently just had the new artwork, the Liberty Lake Together art installed last week. Artist Matthew Dockery did a amazing job, in my opinion, to kind of incorporate the Liberty Lake Together artwork or the photo and logo that we use and put that into place for the artwork at Rocky Hill. Was a pretty smooth installation. And then as you can see in the pictures, we do now have the concrete curbing installed, and we are looking to get the lighting in place and the finished bark play chips in place. So that way that piece is finalized this year, and hopefully do some sort of a commemorative kind of moment within Parks and Arts Commission mayor this year, but we'll kind of see what happens with weather. But I just want to say thank you to Matthew Dockery, the artist. Thank you to Parks and Arts Commission and everyone else involved. I think it's a great piece that was added to Rocky Hill Park, and hopefully looking forward to more art pieces like this around the city.
Very nice. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I'd like to say something in addition to that. I didn't want to say this during the council comments and stuff. Several citizens were able to go to that. Betty, my wife, and I were able to go there. We know the Dockeries for a long period of time. It was really exciting to see this come to fruition. You know, to go from the Parks and Art to come up with a concept and idea and see the process that goes through. It takes a long period of time to do that, but to actually see it come together is really exciting on it. So it's going to be fantastic when you go out to look at this. If you look at the veins that are there, or the leaves themselves are a steel that's it'll rust as time goes on. It'll get a patina. It's going to be great. If you start noticing the veins that are there are stainless steel, so they will not rust. So it's going to give some type of comparison. So what they're talking about, Parks and Art, to complete that is a great idea. The thing that's most important, we get some lighting on that. And because we are looking at additional security cameras throughout the city, it was discussed, and really for the group that was there, it's really important that we make a priority when we put this art out there, that we do have security cameras there. But it was a great event, great event. Look forward to everybody going out, taking a look at it. Thank you.
Okay, it was kind of windy last night, so I think you got a call out, but Trevor, do you want to give the council an update on how we managed the wind event?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually fared out pretty well compared to most of our region, and then other wind storms that we've had in the last couple of years. We really only had one call out, and that was a tree that came down off of property aside from City Liberty Lake, but came down on one of our roads, and our crew members were able to come in and remove that fairly quickly to make sure the road was clear. But we did have some damage to the netting at Trailhead Driving Range. Had damage beginning of this last year. Just want to make sure that you guys know the difference between the damage last year and the cost last year compared to the damage this year. So this is very minor damage compared to last year. It's actually just the netting portion that ripped away, as opposed to last year where it was actually the metal cable and rope that broke away and snapped last year, which is why we had to have a contractor come in. So we have plans to hopefully have this repaired and the range back open by tomorrow afternoon. That's best case scenario. If not, we will be back open by Thursday or Friday, but we have everything in place, and crews are going to start working tomorrow morning to get this repaired. But aside from that, we really didn't have any damage as far as city property during the windstorm. So we kind of lucked out.
And there's thanks for you and the crew's responsiveness to that tree last night. I mean, you guys got it taken care of really quickly.
Okay, and Lisa's going to give us an update on the planning commission. There's some wonderful opportunities for our community to get involved.
Yes, thank you, Katie, Mayor, council members. A little bit later on the agenda, we actually will have an appointment of Conrad Band. He's currently an adjunct member of the Planning Commission. And he will be filling a vacancy created by Mark Rubin, who had a change in schedule that created an ongoing conflict with our planning commission meetings. So thank goodness Conrad stepped up to the plate, and the mayor is recommending his appointment. And so we're looking forward to council hopefully ratifying that appointment as a voting member. With that position taken care of, we will have, as of December 31st, 3 vacancies for our voting members, as well as 2 vacancies on the adjunct members. So it's really a great opportunity for citizens to get involved. And I believe Kelsey has already put out the call for planning commissioners, and I just wanted to encourage the community to consider joining us. We meet once a month, second Wednesday of the month from 4 to 6 p.m. And it's a really important rule for the citizens to advise council on land use and development issues. So hopefully we'll get a lot of great applicants.
Okay, so just real quick for clarification, 2 of our vacancies are due to planning commission members being voted on to council. So they will be leaving planning commission for that. And then remind me of the other ones are because their term is up. And so do we know if anybody whose term is up or if they're reapplying?
Yeah,
Just curious.
so Joe Mann's term is up, and he has already submitted his application. Chris Cargill's term would have been up even if he hadn't been elected to city council. And Jamie Baird also elected to council. That position, the term for that position extends to 2022. We do have Conrad Band, who is one of our adjuncts, is being recommended for a voting position, and Marilyn Vandegrift, who's also an adjunct member, her term expires. So as I said, 3 voting members and 2 adjunct members, and so hopefully we'll get some great applications.
Thank you for that update.
Thank you, Lisa. And before we move on, Lisa, if a community member does want to apply, they can go online and fill out an application from our website. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, we have a number of events that are coming up between now and the end of the month. I'll just touch on those real quick. Just a reminder, if your leaves didn't blow away and you still have some in your yard, there's a leaf and beach cleanup sponsored by Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District. That drop off is open to the public, Liberty Lake public, I should say, through the end of November. The Friends of the Library have a book sale this weekend, the 19th and 20th. It's Friday and Saturday. So this is a fundraiser that all those dollars come back to our library services. So if you need a book, want a book, great time to buy maybe a Christmas present or something, please visit our library. The Winter Glow kickoff is Saturday, and I've heard a rumor that Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus are going to be there. So I think they're coming about 4:45 or so, but it gets dark about 4:30. We'd love to have a lot of people show up. Our police department partnered with regional Thanksgiving regional food drive. That is November 23rd, 1 week from tonight. And it's over at our police department adjacent to the Legacy Church. And then finally, Thanksgiving is only a week away. So the city hall and library will be closed on Thursday and Friday. So if you have any business at city hall, please get here before Thanksgiving. So Mayor, that concludes my report.
Right. Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to give an additional shout out for Friends of Liberty Lake, the library on it. We are so fortunate in the city to have such great volunteers come forward with the Planning Commission, Parks and Arts. They put a lot of time and effort in behind the scenes. A lot of times we don't realize how much effort they do put in, but I want you to know we really do appreciate that. But I really want to give a shout out to these gals and stuff that do the library. They put so much time and effort into gathering the books, selling them. They have a great time in doing that. They're just fun to be around. They are always very successful in the amount of money that they raise. So I encourage everybody to go get yourself a book. If you see a book that somebody else has purchased it, give them some money because it all comes back to the city. So once again, it's a great event. Thank you for all the volunteers. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Okay, so if there's nothing else from the council or staff, we will move on to our workshop discussions. The first one on for tonight, go ahead, Mayor, Councilmember Garcia.
In lieu of the first item under the workshop, I do not need to accuse myself as I have no conflict of interest. And I have not been asked to do so, but in order for my colleagues to deliberate, feeling free to say what they want and really talk it out on what your decisions are going to be and how we're going to move forward, how we're going to move forward as a leadership. I am going to excuse myself during that process. And should you end, please come and get me. I will be in the lab. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to use my office if it's more comfortable.
No, not to them.
All right, so moving on, our first workshop discussion is with regards to the vacant council seat. As we mentioned earlier, Councilmember Garcia's appointment will end with the election certification on November 23rd, assuming that it is certified that she did not get enough votes, write-in votes to surpass Holly Woodruff, who was on the ballot and is not eligible to take office because she moved. Typically, the process for appointing or replacement council member would be we would open up to the community for applications for a certain period of time. When we get those in, the council interviews those applicants and then appoints, nominates and appoints someone from within that applicant pool to take the seat. Well, there are 90 days after the 23rd to make this decision, but with the holidays and the timing, we thought it was a good idea to put this on the agenda for you guys on the council to discuss the process, the timing and whatnot. And so I know Mayor Pro Tem and I have talked a lot about this. So would you like to lead the discussion?
I'll be more than willing to. What I would like to say from the benefit of the citizens who are watching this and who might be curious or confused why Councilwoman Garcia would recuse herself, that we go by Robert's rules to the best that we can. And part of Robert's rules is that if you're going to recuse yourself, if I pronounce it correctly, from the discussion, you need to leave the dais. So that's for those individuals. It's not a matter of not saying something that they wouldn't be able to hear. It's just what the process is. So yes, with that in mind, as we all know, we've been at this for close to a year now with the elections. We understood that one council member was not able to fill that. It would be verified on the 23rd. So at that point, who we appointed, in this case, Councilman Garcia's term will be finished. As not reiterating the same thing as the mayor said, we had 90 days to make this decision. I personally have a recommendation for a discussion would be is that because it's the holidays, we have a lot of things coming up that I would hope for discussion. We consider postponing the actual appointment until next year. Now, because we'll have 2 additional council members who I think are more than qualified to be able to do that. But the benefit I see is this. My concern is we open it up on the 24th. How much time do we really give the citizens to be able to make a decision? Do they want to come in and volunteer for this? If we try to do it for 2 weeks, that would put us to the first part of December. We're still into the holidays, things of the sort here. So my idea would be throw out is that if we wanted to, we could certainly open up applications on the 24th. We could give it easily 30 days for individuals to consider is something they want to apply for. If you remember in the past, when this position was first being applied, that Holly Woodruff got it, we had 17 applicants come forward. Of that, 14 followed through for interviews, and we narrowed it down to 4 or 5, and we had some really good individuals there. So that's why I throw this out for consideration for the council. That might be a benefit for our citizens. Thank you.
Any other comments with regards to the timing? Councilmember Kurtz, and then Councilmember Foyer.
I just had a question. Can you guys remind me how long we left the application process open the last 2 times we did it? Was it 2 weeks? Was it longer?
Councilmember Kurtz, that's a question I asked Kelsey. So Kelsey, do you want to give the council the information that, on the duration of the application timeframe in the past?
Yeah, so it looks like when we were filling the vacant position in January of this year, we posted the advertisement for approximately 3 weeks. And the second vacancy we filled in June, we had it posted for about 13 days. So 2 to 3 weeks.
May I make a follow-up? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and Katie's just mentioning there were no holidays within those timeframes to consider either.
Okay. Just reflecting on what Mike said and then what Kelsey said there. I think leaving it open for at least 3 weeks makes some sense, given that the holidays are there. And I also think if people want to be a part of the council, they probably know that. So I'm not sure it matters in that way, but as far as getting an application together and talking over with your family and all that, and I'm respectful of the holiday piece. I'm fine with doing something before January. I'm also fine with doing something after January. Whatever is going to make sense with our meeting time frame, the budget discussions that we're going to be having, and all of that too. So those are my thoughts.
Councilmember Foyer, I think you were next.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess finally, I'm looking at the workload we have to accomplish between now and the end of the year. We have 2 council meetings left on the calendar year. Is that correct?
Plus a workshop, yes.
Well, I missed that memo.
Special workshop on the 30th for the budget.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have to finish up our budget works. We have a capital facilities we have to approve, work through that. That's not going to be a 5-minute discussion. I would be in favor of pushing it into January, so we can focus on the interviews, focus on the applicants, and have a proper amount of time to put some thought into the applicant.
However, first, before I get back to you, let me see if Councilmember Dunn has anything.
I would voice just, I agree that the period of open applications should match what we've done in the past and to not compromise the objectives that we've got in the existing agendas. So, thanks.
First, you have a follow-up then?
Yeah, I think of tonight where we've had fairly consistently, we've had about 2 council members missing for valid reasons that we've all excused. We'll have a 3rd person missing. Just a reminder to the council that if one more of us isn't here, we can't get city business done. So just wanting everybody to make sure that we're all present and accounted for.
Great point. Now, I am looking at the calendar here real quick. So if we would post on the 24th, and I'm lumping holidays in with this initial calculation. If we would leave it open for 3 weeks, that would take us 1, 2, 3. That would take us to the middle to the end of the week, the 13th, which is the week before Christmas. So I guess in my mind, based on the feedback that I've heard from you guys, obviously with the workload that the council has in front of us, in front of you guys until the end of the year, in considering the Thanksgiving holiday, I would propose maybe leaving it open for applications through the 17th. I would leave it open for 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. That's 1, 2. Maybe let me try this again here.
Mayor,
Hmm?
we just opened the applications at the beginning of the year, January 3rd.
Well, my thought was, because that would push the decision out even further, but I'm looking at the calendar and my proposal would be to accept applications through the end of this year. It would leave it open a little bit longer, but given the holidays, people taking the time to, like Councilmember Kurtz said, having the discussions with their family and filling out the application in a thoughtful manner. And then have those applications ready for the council when they come back in when you guys come back in January for interviews and whatnot. That way we don't have to push it too far into 2022's calendar year if we don't open it up for applications until January. So if we leave it open through the end of the year for applications, then that can be one of the first orders of business in 2022. Thoughts? Mayor Pro Tem.
Just for consideration is that I don't have a challenge with the 3 weeks or even the month, but what I keep looking at is the holidays. And if we're talking about putting off till next year on it, I would be in favor, we look at accepting applications through the first week of January. Or the third or fourth, whatever, I don't have a calendar in front of me. What is that? I'm not making a motion, I'm just.
January 3rd is a Monday, January 4th is the first council meeting of the year. So January 3rd is the first Monday of 2022, and then the first council meeting is January 4th.
I would throw out for discussion then is that to consider the 3rd of January, once again, because of the holidays. Thank you.
Councilmember Kurtz.
I would like to have the application submission process kind of wrapped up and ended this year, and have us be able to maybe do the beginning of the interviews on the first, like you're saying, the first council meeting of the year. I think it would be nice for whoever this is to start relatively at the same time as the other two council members. So there's not like so many learning curves going on at the same time. I think it'd be nice for them to kind of all start at the same time, get that piece out of the way so we can get going with the rest of the business for the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to my January 3rd for the interview start date. Sorry. My reasoning is, I wonder if it's a negative for the applicants to deal with that over the holidays. If you want to open it up the week after Christmas, I got problems with that. But my bigger issue for going into the first of the year is to give our new incoming council members a little chance to catch their breath on day one. Maybe asking them to do this task. I would maybe think it might be good to give them a little time as a council member. Right out of the gates, it's a pretty big ask, but that's fine, whatever. I'm sure they can handle it. They've been elected to handle it, but not always easy. Think about your first council meeting. Shoot, I was in Cabo. So. So there you go.
Remember 10 or Councilmember Dunn?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just giving him a bad
Oh,
time.
no, I just wanted
We
to see if you
remember
guys had any,
you're on his first meeting.
I just wanted to see if you guys had anything to add.
I would like to say something after
Okay.
Councilman Dunn.
Anything else, Councilmember?
Well, I would
Dunn?
like to say something after Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, in that case.
Shall I flip a coin?
No, that's fine. I will jump into it. I would like to make a motion then. Motion would be that on the 24th, we'll open up applications and to be closed on January 3rd.
And may I just clarify before we get a second, with the intention of starting interviews on the 4th? Because that's kind of crunch time.
No, I think that we wouldn't be able to do it on the 4th.
Okay. So then that would put, so our second meeting in January would be the 18th. So just to clarify, motion again before we ask for a second. So motion would be should, I need to add this little part, should the Secretary of State, right, is that the right office, certify the election on November 23rd with Councilmember Garcia not voted to, not having more votes than Holly Woodruff, then should that occur, then you're proposing that the city would post the application process on the 24th with an end date of the 3rd. And does that sound?
It does. If I could add a clarifying or a suggestion, Mayor Pro Tem, because we don't know if we're gonna get 2 or 20 applications, why don't we do this, is post it from the 24th of January through the 24th of November through January 3rd, close it, we have to verify that they're all qualified.
Yeah.
We have to check their residency and that they're a registered voter. Then we bring that back to the council and say, okay, we have X applicants. Do you want to do it? What day do you want to interview them? Because by our policies, we have to interview every qualified applicant, and 20 could be a whole council meeting. And the council may say, no, we want a special meeting to do that, not a standard business meeting. So just a suggestion.
Thank you, Katie, I appreciate that. I had no challenge with what you're recommending. I thought about that. I chose not to put it in my motion for the simple reason is that let's establish the dates, and then I think we can go from there. I'm simply bringing this up so we can move ahead with discussion and decision.
All right, so do we have a second to the motion to post the application, to open the applications on the 24th, should the Secretary of State certify the election on the 23rd with Councilmember Garcia having less votes than Councilmember Woodruff? We have a second.
I'll take a second.
Second by Councilmember Dunn, now discussion.
Just point of clarification, that was the November 24th, right? We're putting months in those dates.
It's November 24th, thank you. Councilmember Kurtz.
Just clarifying too that the mayor pro tem, does his position end January 1st as well? For the 2 years, because if we have to have all 7 of us together, we won't have a mayor pro tem until whenever we get this part done.
It was a year from we did the appointment. I don't know the date that. 2 years.
If I can clarify, we go back on our rules and regulations, that what happens is that we need to have all 7 individuals for mayor pro tem. And what was discussed, I believe it was Councilman Foyer pointed out, and we've done this in the past, that has happened to us in the past. The current, whoever mayor pro tem is, it continues on until that decision is made. Because it's important to realize mayor pro tem, this comes up quite often, has absolutely no more authority or decision-making power over any other council member. None. Good question, though.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Kurtz.
So the applications would close on the 3rd. And what date would be looking at doing the interviews then? Or I think Katie was saying that, and I think I missed what she was saying as far as the dates.
I think the message that Katie was trying to convey was, if we get 2 applicants, the council may choose to do it, during the January 21st meeting. If there are 20, you all may choose to do a special meeting. It may depend on how many applicants. That's up to you guys.
Okay, so we would know on the 4th though how many applicants. We may not know how many are qualified because Katie said they had to go through some of the procedures, checking, verifying. Okay. Right, but we would make a decision on a special meeting or doing the vote on the 21st at the 4th meeting.
Yeah, you guys could discuss during the January 4th meeting what date you would want to do those interviews.
Right. Thanks.
Any other input? Not hearing any?
Call the question.
I will go ahead. All right, so I'll go ahead and call for the vote to open the applications November 24th and hold them open until January 3rd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I see hands, not ayes, but I got 3 hands and an aye. So any opposed? Okay, not hearing any. Motion passes 4-0 with Councilmember Garcia recused. So it sounds like we will given the outcome of certification of the election, we will get that posted on the 24th of November and hold it open until January 3rd. Thanks everybody for that. Yeah. All right, Kate's gonna go grab Councilmember Garcia. And then we'll jump in for a quick update on the code of ethics as soon as she gets back in here. Needs to stretch the legs here for a moment while we wait for her to come in.
I can announce what our decision was.
Yeah. Councilmember Garcia, just so you're caught up, the council's discussion and decision was to open the applications on the 24th, leave them open until January 3rd, and then on the 4th, the council would decide when those interviews would happen. So that was the result of that discussion. All right, so now code of ethics, social media policy. I'll turn this one over to Councilmember Kurtz, because as of the last meeting, it had been suggested that a subgroup work on this, and I believe those people have been chosen, and I don't know, I believe you've had a chance to meet yet, so go ahead, Councilmember Kurtz.
Correct, yes, thank you, Mayor. I got the names of the other volunteers. I've reached out and we just need to get schedules together so that we can come up with something. I'm hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We've got Thanksgiving in the middle there too, and I know myself I'm not going to be available that week. So I think after Thanksgiving, hopefully we can get together for a couple of hours, and then we can bring something back to the council to consider. Yeah.
All right. Any questions for Councilmember Kurtz? All right, I think that's the record for the fastest workshop.
First ever, yeah.
All right, moving on to number 10, general business, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Consent agenda, make a motion to approve item 1, approve the November 4th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Item 2, approve the November 16th, 2021 vouchers and October payroll benefits in the amount of $921,279.91.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Garcia. All right, any discussion or questions? Okay, not seeing any. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Action items 1, motion to confirm the mayor's appointment of Conrad Van to the commission, planning commission.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And second from Councilmember Garcia. All right, any discussion or questions? All right, not hearing any. All in favor of appointing Conrad Van to the planning commission in his voting position, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, not seeing any. Motion passes 5-0.
Very good. Action item 2, motion to authorize the mayor to execute parametrics task order 2021-05 for design and bid specifications for phase 2 RFB pedestrian improvements in the amount of not to exceed $32,000.
Nobody's jumping on the seconds tonight.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Garcia.
Hugh's not here.
Yeah, he's true. Any discussion or questions? All right, not seeing or hearing any. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, any opposed? All right, not seeing any. Motion passes 5-0. All right, we are on to public hearings and appeals. This public hearing is on the 2022 proposed budget. Similar to citizen comments, if you would like to make a comment on the proposed budget, please shoot a note to Todd Henderson, who's managing the meeting. Send that note to him via chat, and you will have just state your name if you're a Liberty Lake resident in the city limits or no, and then we will take your comment. You'll have up to 3 minutes. Don't everybody jump at once. Todd, are you seeing anything?
No.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead, and I forgot I do need to open the public hearing. So we will do that at 7:51. And then just wait a moment or two until Verizon time tells me something different. And this gives some people another moment or two to decide if they want to make a comment. Well, some brave soul out there has a question. Okay. All right, Come on, Verizon. All right, we will go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:52 with no comments. All right, there will be more opportunities as this process goes by. We're on to resolutions. Kelsey.
First, we have resolution number 21-291, a resolution of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, approving the final plat of River Crossing 2020 edition, located in a portion of the southwest and southeast quarters of the southwest quarter of Section 9, Township 25 North, Range 45 EWM, Liberty Lake, Washington.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 21-291.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Garcia is our second. All right, do we have any, now we finally updated our rules of procedure, so I will ask if there are any public comments on approving this final plat. If there are any comments, just let Todd know. And is there any discussion from the council on this resolution? I actually do have a question for Lisa, if nobody else on the council has one. Lisa, are you with us? There you are, you're on my other page. Just a quick question, Lisa, let me find the page that I printed out here. I was curious about traffic control, and this may be a question that's way premature. So this is on which page of the plat is this? Page 2 of 2 of the schematic. It looks like so over on the right, obviously, what's the name of that road? Snoqualmie Road is coming out onto Mission. It looks like a fairly large intersection just north of that. Do you know, is there any information at this point in the process as to what the traffic control is going to be there? Because it seems like it's pretty short distance from Mission. Just curious more than anything else.
Yeah, so I will have to look to see. That would have been on the civil plans, and frankly I don't recall. It is this Snoqualmie is not going to generally have driveways accessing off of there. It's more of a collector type of road going it goes north towards the river and then cuts to the west. So but it does not, it's not going to be a principal it's not going to be principally accessing homes.
Yeah, I guess my question was more around, you know how people don't quite understand uncontrolled intersections. I know after 15 years, I still try to get used to it. It's something that was kind of new to me.
I would have to look in the civil plans to see if there was if that was stop controlled or not. I will check that and get back to you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments from the council? Not seeing any comments from the public, Todd? Not seeing any. Okay, all of those in favor of approving resolution 21-291, please raise your hand. Please here. Okay, we got 5 and none opposed, obviously. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next we have resolution number 21-292, a resolution of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington regarding finalization of the Legacy Ridge West Second Edition plat located in the south half of the southwest quarter of Section 16, Township 25N, Range 45 EWM, Liberty Lake, Washington. File 2014.PL0003B.
Kelsey, motion to approve resolution number 21-292.
Second. Thank you. And second from Councilmember Garcia. Any questions or comments from the council or from the public? If there's a citizen comment, just let Todd know in the chat. He's going to call you Jack. Todd, we're going to get a new nickname. All right, not hearing, or so I see one from Councilmember Follier.
Thank you. Lisa? Is this, is this been modified from the original prelim? Or is this,
Yes, it is a minor modification from the original preliminary plat. This area was going to be 0 lot line townhomes. These are now proposed as single family lots.
I guess my second question is, I know a while back we changed the lot size requirements per acre. I forget what it was exactly now. I'm assuming all this meets that requirement.
It does. In fact, what ended up happening was it eliminated minimum lot sizes. And they did actually have to provide us with a documentation that they were meeting the density requirements. And I can provide you with that if you'd like.
Oh, no, that's not my intent. My intent is just to know that what we've done in the past works well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Not hearing or seeing any, all in favor of resolution 21-292, please raise your hand. All right, I've got 5 hands. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we're on to ordinances, second read for each of them.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance second read. Motion to approve ordinance number 33A, amending the office of city clerk.
You have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second by Councilmember Garcia. Any questions or comments from the council or from the public? And for citizen clarification, these first 2 ordinances on the agenda are cleaning up some very old ordinances with regards to some of our positions and the process of council confirming in with regards to oaths and bonds. Okay, not seeing any. All in favor of approving ordinance 33A, please raise your hand. Okay, I got 5 out of 5. Motion passes 5-0.
Very good. Ordinance B, motion to approve ordinance number 281, which would be appealing ordinance number 7, 32, and 35.
Do the second.
Second.
Councilmember Floyd, you're just like half a second too late. The second from Councilmember Garcia. All right, any comments, questions from the council or the public on this one? All right, not hearing any. All in favor of passing ordinance 281, please raise your hand. All right, I see 5 out of 5. Motion passes.
Ordinance C, motion to approve ordinance number 282 regarding regular property tax levy.
Do a second.
Second.
Thank you. And a second by Councilmember Garcia. All right, any discussion or questions from the council? Go ahead, Councilmember Dunn.
Discussion. Question, Kyle, did you earlier in the meeting say you have not finished a 6-year revenue projection?
We have, and so we had discussed, so I had taken what was done last year and included that. That's included in the budget, and that's, I believe it's the last page.
And I thought I recount you saying, though, it required some revision.
So we were going to discuss on how that looks. And so discussion at the last meeting was how we want to portray some of the revenues that aren't necessarily connected to the general fund and the streets operations, because that's been the history of the 6-year revenue forecast that I was able to see. Was we're focused on general fund and we're focused on the streets revenue. And so that, so I was going to incorporate some other funds to show where other revenue sources are coming in to offset some capital outlay questions that had come up.
Is a regular property tax levy part of those other revenues?
No, that is just part of the general fund.
Okay. I guess I voiced concern over the utility of that projection. and its validity over the long term. And I believe that the property tax levy has a significant impact, accretive impact in that longer term 6-year projection. I believe we're premature in approving this ordinance.
Any other comments or
Just a-
concerns?
And so what we'll need to do, sorry to jump in. So we can proceed. However, we do need to have these, this property tax certification to the county by November 30th.
And it is in fact incorporated in the budget for 2022.
Correct.
So we're in effect projecting into the 22 budget, something which cannot be changed.
We certainly can. We can make the correction if that's council's desire.
Any other
I
comments?
just again voice the observation that I believe it's premature to approve this ordinance.
Any other council members? Any questions or comments from the citizens? All right, not hearing any. All in favor of ordinance 282, please raise your hand. All right, please raise your hand if you oppose.
Nay.
I've got one that I'm not sure of. So Councilmember Foyer, couldn't determine where you are on this.
Unmute.
Approve it.
So motion fails, 2 to 3. So process on this then, Sean.
I mean, obviously it fails. I think the bigger issue is just the certification issue that has to be done by the 30th. So Kyle, I'm sure you know better from the standpoint of what the county requires with regard to the certification of the property tax levy by the end of the month.
Yeah, so I'm going to call our levy specialist tomorrow and just inform them of our timeframe and how we can kind of accommodate their timeline going forward.
It may require that the council has to get back together before the 30th.
Correct.
We have the 30th, which is after business hours.
For this,
We have-
for this topic only?
Certainly, you could have just a special meeting where you put one topic on it. Yes, Phil, you could do that.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, item D.
Item D, motion to approve ordinance number 269F, budget amendment to ARP and former named Henry, now Kramer Road.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. The second by Councilmember Dunn. Any questions or comments from the council or the citizens? Not seeing or hearing any. All in favor of approving ordinance 269F, please raise your hand.
Mayor, did you have comments? I'm sorry. Citizen comments?
I just asked that we didn't see anybody.
All right, thank you. I just didn't hear. Thank you.
All right, all in favor, that was 5-0, motion passes. All right. There are emergency ordinances, we have none. Introduction of upcoming agenda items.
Thank you, Mayor. Before Kelsey gives us an update on the agenda items for December 7th, I wanted to ask the council about November 30th, which is a workshop on unfunded projects at CFP. It's a special meeting. Does the council want to start at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.?
Yeah, it's on the CFP with part of it being on the unfunded projects.
Correct.
I'll look to the council for suggestions. 6, or Dan, I'm losing a finger. Is that 7?
7. Sorry, 7. Yeah.
Got one for 7. Councilmember, I remember Tim.
7 is fine.
I'm sorry, I was a little asleep at the wheel. What meeting are we talking about here?
Or on the 30th for the CFP
Okay.
and it includes the discussion on unfunded projects.
I thought so, but I heard special meeting and I don't know about this group sometimes. So yeah, 7.
Okay, Councilmember Kurtz, good with you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So 7 PM, and Kelsey's gonna walk us through the agenda for December 7th.
Okay, so to start with for December 7th, I'd like some direction on what our workshop topics will be. I assume we will continue budget discussions. But I'd like to put it to the council to do that at the 6 o'clock or the 7 o'clock.
My suggestion would be 6 o'clock, continue to be budget discussion. Unless anybody opposes that, Mayor Pro Tem.
No, I agree with 6 o'clock. I think it's appropriate. We continue after 6 o'clock.
And if there are no other workshops scheduled for that day, I would also propose that we put the budget on during the regular meeting, just in case we need to continue the 6 o'clock discussion. If we finish at the earlier one, we can always take that off the agenda.
Okay, I'll add that for the 7 o'clock as well.
Yep.
For upcoming agenda items for the 7th. We will have, and directors jump in if I have missed anything, but we will have a design build contract coming forward for Trailhead. We will do a first read ordinance for the 2022 budget with the CFP included in that. We will do a public hearing and first read ordinance on the CFP. There will be a parametrics task order for an hourly contract for Creamer Overpass on-call on-site owners and representative support, and an Aero Boards agenda item for the street crew. That's all I got.
All right. Okay, thanks for that, Kelsey. So we now are back to citizen comments. If anybody in the gallery would like to make a citizen comments, please send a note to Todd in the chat function, and he will notify me. You will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Just give your name and whether you're a resident of Liberty Lake proper or not. Have anybody, Todd? Not hearing anybody? Going once? Going twice? All right, no citizen comments. So we also do not have an executive session. Is there anything else that the council wants to bring up before we take a motion to adjourn? Not seeing any. Mayor Pro Tem.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And a second. Second. Any opposed? All right, not hearing any. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you back after that.
Thank you, everyone.
Mm-hmm.